TWR viewers, welcome to another episode on the Talk with Rebbe. For those who are just watching the Talk with Rebbe for the first time, I'm sure you are not familiar with my face. So let me introduce myself. My name is Rebecca Irabo and I am the host on the Talk with Rebbe. So I would like to welcome you officially to another episode on the Talk with Rebbe on the second season. And on today's episode, we have a distinguished guest in the studio with us. And I would like to first thank people that watched the previous episode on the Talk with Rebbe. I know that you were able to learn quite a few things. An aspiring international student and as a current international student, or even as a graduate that is transitioning into the workforce in Canada. So thank you for watching the previous episode. And on today's episode, we have quite a lot to be talking about. Like I said, we have a distinguished guest in the studio. She is a homemaker, a mother, a grandmother, and a renowned successful professor. And to top it all, she is an icon in entrepreneurship, and she will be sharing her experiences, not just fun experiences, on today's episode. So viewers, tighten your seatbelt because you are on a roller coaster to learn a lot on today's episode. I will give our guest the opportunity to introduce herself and briefly tell us few things about herself and what she would like to share with us on today's episode. Hi, Dr. Nima. Thank you so much for being here today. It means a lot to me. Thank you for being on the Talk with Rebbe. We are so happy to have you on today's episode. So kindly introduce yourself to the viewers.
Thank you so much, Rebbe, for having me. First of all, I want to say and acknowledge what an awesome job it is that you're doing, and I'm sure the viewers are going to agree that she is an excellent example of how young people who are coming into Canada can settle down and have the confidence to do what they're passionate about. So Rebbe, I'm extremely happy to be here with you. I am a professor, like you said, and I'm also a homemaker and a mother, a grandmother, and there are different hats that one person wears at all times, and not necessarily good in everything, but you end up doing and managing all of those things. So I'm just going to let you ask questions and we can take it from there.
Thank you. That was a beautiful introduction. Thank you for briefly telling us about yourself. I'll just get right into the business and let's learn and have a wonderful time together with you on the show.
Sure.
The first thing I would like to ask is, at the early stage of building your career in Canada, what were the challenges you encountered as an immigrant here in Canada and as a woman and also as a Muslim in Canada? So what were those challenges? You can just briefly let us know what those challenges were.
Thank you so much for asking that question. I've been in Canada for 14 years. I immigrated to Canada in 2010. Okay. So it's been 14 years. And yes, I've had my share of challenges in terms of, putting yourself out there, like you're putting yourself out there. And when I came in, my daughter was going to Western, which is why we moved to a city called London, Ontario. While I was there, I was able to do research and quickly found out that the city of London, Ontario has a lot of demographic which represents the Muslim population. So I was like, what is it that I can do in order to, serve this community with my set of experiences? So there was a matching that I did in terms of what I bring and then what is available. And I thought that it would be a great idea to launch a Muslim magazine or a magazine which would be representative of the cultures that we all bring as immigrants to Canada. I did see newspapers there in London, Ontario, where they would be either in Arabic or it would be in Urdu or Hindi or other languages, but I saw a gap actually where the stories of the Muslims in Canada, particularly in London, Ontario at that point in time, were not in English and they were not really done, if I may say so, in a cooler manner. So the linkage between the wider community and the Muslim community was not established as well. So I thought, hey, that's an opportunity and I can speak to both. So the challenging part was because I am originally from Pakistan, I'm not an Arab, but then because I lived in Saudi Arabia for 10 years, so I do know some parts of Arabic, so I was able to leverage myself to the Arab community as well as to the South Asian community within the city of London, Ontario. So the challenging part was to kind of establish my own identity in terms of who's this new person who's come in, right? Who is she and why is she, getting into the business of being the news reporter, pretty much like yourself, and doing stories, and which is one of the reasons why I really wanted to come and encourage you, because I could see parts of it reflected in my own journey. Therefore, the challenging part was coming as an outsider, even though I could speak the language English, which is for the wider community. I could speak the language of South Asians, which is my Urdu and Hindi, and then I could, relate to and understand the Arab culture to quite an extent, and also speak, have a working knowledge of Arabic. But it was still difficult to kind of really establish yourself, and because it's a tight-knit community. And any outsiders have to establish that trust when you come in. So one would think that, these were just Muslim people, and they were like yourselves, so that would be easier, but it was not, because they already had their establishments and their groups of, it was a lovely community, they welcomed me, but at the same time it took time. And to get into the rhythm of the community, where I could be able to reach out to different personalities within that community, do interviews and talk to them, and then eventually get advertisements, because ads would be able to supplement my magazine and the income and generate it, because the magazine was not paid for, it was distributed for free. I needed access through the mosques to reach the community, and then also I was on a lot of volunteer committees for the City of London, so then I became that bridge, that's how I like to think about, between the community and between the larger community, to kind of say, hey, this is what we're doing, these are Muslim people. And then you must remember 9/11 had happened, of course, and it did change the dynamics of the identity of the Muslims, right? So to reposition and rebrand, or to present them in a way that, hey, we have people from all walks and backgrounds, which is true not only for the Muslim dynamic, but for any demographic, right? Canada is a multicultural, multinational, so many different nationalities and people from backgrounds and religions and diversity live here. So each one of those have a rich culture that they offer, and they bring that to the table, right? So we need to do our part in making sure that our stories are heard.
Yeah, wow, that's really wonderful, because coming to a new country, it's all about building a community whereby you get to know people and support people and have your own quota in making sure the society that you live in gets better. And I think that is what has helped a lot of new immigrants to transition easily, because people that were here, I would say pace setters that were here before us, made it easier for people to settle in comfortably. So it's not really about you just settling in your family, having this urge to help other people. We really make life easy, because Canadians, they are the settlers of this land. So people have actually worked so hard for their generation to actually live here, grow, have a career and all of that. So you as an immigrant coming, you should have a vision of the fact that you have other people that will also come as well as they come. So you should make life simple for them. And it's quite challenging, like you said, but you were able to thrive and push through and excel in that area. So it's something to be really proud of, and it's really admirable. So thank you for sharing that. And I also like to know how you were able to navigate the challenges you faced in your career as a professor, because you have vast experience in that area and you've been a professor for close to 9 years, going to 10 years. I would like to know how you were able to navigate those obstacles that came along the way, those hurdles, those hiccups that came along the way, and how you were able to thrive and just push through and become who you are today, which is a renowned, successful professor, and then someone to look up to when it comes to entrepreneurship. So just briefly tell us how you're able to navigate that.
I think that whenever you're an immigrant or you leave your main home base of a country, you yourself become used to being resilient, because in your own home country, you were somebody. You were born there, you were raised there, you were educated there, you have a network of people, your family was there, people know your worth and all of that stuff. So it's kind of a lot of things you take for granted, right? The support system, the education, everything you take for granted. But the moment anybody tries to venture out of their own comfort zone is when you learn how to be resilient, because you are suddenly a nobody. You're nobody. Nobody knows you. Nobody knows your story. Nobody knows your history. Nobody knows what you're worth. Nobody knows about your family, what you did, how your struggles have been. So that's a shock. But that's exactly what makes you excited. And I've lived in different countries. This is like a regular thing, I guess. So that makes you practice resilience in a way that you know it's going to get better. You just know it's going to get better. You just need to do the work. You need to be hardworking and all of that stuff. So your vision about yourself when you're uprooting from one place to another is to understand it's not going to be easy in the beginning, because nobody knows you, and that's a given. You have to start from zero again. And then from that place, you have to build up all over again. So are you willing to do the hard work? Are you willing to rebuild again? A lot of time people don't leave their comfort zone. Why they don't leave their comfort zone? Because it's just hard. It's just heartbreaking also. It's also it's a tough place to be. So when you restart again, reset your system, you're introducing a lot of stressors in your life. So you could give up, there would be financial stressors, there'd be emotional stressors, there'd be so many other things that are going to affect you. So you can't go around announcing, no, like right now you said I have 10 years, nearly 10 years of teaching experience, but no, I actually have 30 years of teaching experience, because I started really young when I started teaching. I was 22 and I was teaching in my own home country, but see, that kind of gets away. So you have to bring it back and say, hey, no, I've been doing. So you have to keep proving, and you have to also remember to yourself and remind yourself your own worth, because unfortunately the world around you is mostly trained to bring people down. So you just have to understand that resilience is something that needs to be a process, and you need to not give up. When it gets harder, you know that you're just gonna go over the cliff, and you'll be fine. You'll be fine.
Wow, thank you so much. I know that quite a lot of people might have heard about the fact that you have to be resilient, hardworking, and all of that. But the funny thing is, no matter how many times you've heard all of this, there are some moments that you actually need to hear these particular things, and at that right moment when you hear it, there are some decisions you just make instantly. There could be life-changing. It's more like reading the Quran. You've read it, you know everything about it, but there are some times whereby you start all over again and you are learning the things you've learned before, but there's a particular situation that might be happening in your life that you actually need to be reminded of what you know, and that will help you to make some certain decision that could change your life for the better. So it's never about, oh, I know these things, I know how to do these things, I've heard these things. Sometimes you have to keep hearing it, because it will help you and guide you in making the right decision. And thank you so much for sharing that. It's encouraging knowing that people can resonate with this particular situation and how to navigate life in general, especially in a new country.
There's just one more thing I'd like to add, which is about when you're doing that resilience piece, when you know that you have to start from zero again. Also try to navigate not being a victim, because it's very easy to get into the victim mentality and say, oh, I had it hard because of... Yes, that is your journey. It will be hard, but don't expect people to take it as if like you don't deserve anybody's pity, and you shouldn't. your confidence is enough, right? But you just need to make sure that you know where you're coming from. And sometimes you also need to make sure that you are reminding others around without being a victim. You need to remind other people, hey, hello, I know this stuff. I've been doing it. It's just that it was done another place. And then when you do the work, it shows in your work that you've done it. I used to tell my students when I was in Saudi Arabia for 10 years as a prof, I used to tell them, always work on getting transferable skills. Transferable skills globally. What are transferable skills? That would be, you are disciplined, you're hardworking, you have the good ethics, you know your job, you know what you're talking about, you do the hard work. These are all globally acceptable, transferable skills, no matter you work in Pakistan, Saudi Arabia, UK, or in Canada, US, wherever you go, you need that. You need those things. Once you have those, you should be able to do the stuff.
Starts anyway.
Yeah, exactly. It'll be hard. It won't be easy, but it'll help you.
Wow. Thank you so much for that. So what are the personal principles? I know we have like general principles applied to a particular profession that you have to follow to achieve a particular result, but we also have our personal principles that we apply to our business activities and all of that. So I would like to know your personal principles, ethics, and also the tactics that you applied to your business activities as an entrepreneur in London, Ontario, and how you were able to achieve this level of success along the line. So what were those principles?
I think one of the principles that pushes me is definitely passion and believing in yourself, right? Because I think I've had to rebuild myself a lot of times in this life. In my past experiences and whatever, so that has kind of made me tough. And the principle is to believe in myself. Firstly, understand what you want to do, and then really know that you can do it. And once that's done, keep that, and that belief is going to help you, streamline the framework for your ethics. Similarly, confidence is a principle. Punctuality, discipline. Discipline is major in my life. That's a major principle in my life. Discipline of working out, discipline of working at a certain time, discipline of being on time for the classes or any appointments or anything that I need to do. Giving that respect. I think for me, the way I interpret discipline is giving respect to myself and to the others. I'm showing respect to you by being on time. I'm showing respect to my students by being on time. By being disciplined in terms of making sure I do the work, however hard it is. I have to finish the work. I have to finish that level of commitment. If it's going to take me an all-nighter because I partied and then I still have this presentation to do, I still need to do it. So having that discipline, again, helps in the framework of ethics, right? So whatever principles you have, they kind of transition into your ethics, and then you figure out how do I want to do that, right? Other principle that I'm also very excited about, and I think, is to have fun. Enjoy what you're doing. Challenge yourself, and say, hey, now I'm going to make it be fun for me, be exciting for me. Because without that governing principle, my life would be boring. Because you're so disciplined, then where's the fun part, right? And where's the growth happening? Where's the creativity? Where is that venturing into a dreamy world where you want to say, hey, I want to do this, I want to do this. Where's that coming from? Where's that imagination going? So discipline is good to keep you grounded, but at the same time, creativity and letting yourself experience the fun things or exciting things or venturing into new territories, and how you're going to do that. So that's how I look at it. And tactics is figuring out, hey, this is what I need to do. This is what the road is going to look like. This is how I'm going to reach out to these people.
So inspired about how you were able to explain these procedures and even make it imaginable. The way you were saying it, I was just imagining the steps and how to even utilize those steps into actions that are achievable. That's how you get things done eventually, and you move from one step A to step B to step C, and before you know it, you're at the finishing line. So that's really helpful, and thank you for making it very understandable for us to understand the process.
I'm glad you say that.
Yeah.
Showing up for yourself is another way of saying discipline, right?
Yeah.
There's a lot of videos that we see on TikTok right now. There's like, oh, you should show up for yourself. What does showing up for yourself mean? Showing up for yourself means you have control over your mind and your body, and you're able to say, hey, I need to do this. And be warned, there will be days you won't be able to do it. And that's where you're going to say, it's okay, I couldn't do it today. My body was not feeling up to it. I couldn't go to the gym. Fine, I'm going to let myself rest, but I'm going to pick up where I left off. And that's where discipline and showing up for yourself comes in. So you may be you wanted to go from A to B to C, but at point B, you had to go B1, B2, and then C. Let that be. That's your journey.
Yes, and
it's okay.
Show grace, like what you said, show for yourself, and what you just said now, it's also good to show grace to yourself, because you have to be gentle with yourself and not exert a lot of pressure which could make you go over your limits. So when you are always going and then you feel like you need to just take a pause time to relax and have fun, like what you said.
I think I didn't give myself grace enough when I was your age and even older, and even for, I think, the past couple of few years, I didn't. I was hard on myself. I have to make it happen. I have to do this. The commitment to work contract, or commitment to my family, or commitment to my children, or commitment to everybody else around me and my students and whatnot was immense. And I showed up for everybody except myself. And that was a hard lesson to learn. And my health suffered because of that. And definitely, I would say that for any young person, to make sure you give grace to yourself. Be kind to yourself. You're awesome.
Yeah, thank you so much. I think that will really help in our journey. What are the 3 major mistakes you would advise the viewers not to make as a homemaker, as a mother, and as a grandmother, and most especially as a professional, that viewers should not make those mistakes they should avoid? So what would you?
I would narrow it down and say there's one mistake that would be, or 2 or 3 mistakes that would be running through all of these. Because you are who you are, and your mistakes will be mistakes that you do as a homemaker. You do the similar mistakes as a grandmother or a mother, and then even at work. And I think my biggest mistake, which I also talked about right now, is not giving myself enough grace, not giving myself the opportunity to rest, not giving myself the opportunity to show up for myself, and putting other people's needs before my needs. These are all good things. These are things in our religion. It also says, look after other people, take care of one another. But it also says you should take care of yourself too. Not to the extent of being self-absorbed, but at the same time, you're able to better take care of others when you're able to take care of yourself, your emotions, your mental health, your spiritual needs, your physical health, all of those things, your happiness, the things that bring you joy. Coming from a South Asian culture, a lot of our emphasis and nexus of our existence is around the home, around being the roles, being a homemaker and the provider in a lot of situations, and also being there for your children, no matter whether you're working or not, right? So in my mother's generation, it was more forgiving. She was able to be in her more feminine energy as compared to, going out and working and whatever and getting all of that done. And unfortunately, I was put in a position that I had to utilize my masculine energy more as compared to utilizing my feminine. I still did that, but at the same time, it was hard to balance because you were humans. You will never be able to balance anything, right? You are not the balancer like the God. So it's important to understand that there are roles which were sacred and they should be sacred, and they have to be in certain, you have to be in certain energy in order to fulfill those roles. You can't be the provider and at the same time be the nurturer. You have to be the nurturer or the provider. And yes, I might be called out on these gender roles or genderifying these feminine and but I'm not making it about a gender. I'm making it about the energies that we both have as women and men. We have feminine energy and masculine energy. So I think having that balance and a good understanding of who you are, what your identity is, and who you need to be, and you need to show up as yourself. So that you are by default, I am by default a nurturer. But then you have to push all of that back and you have to be the fighter and you have to go and earn and you have to do all of that to take care of your family and all, which a lot of women do, especially in the Western cultures and probably in my generation and moving forward, yes, right? So people might even say, oh, it's not a big deal, we all have to work. Yes, we all have to work, but that's not our default. That's what my understanding is. And to have that privilege, like I have this discussion with my mother, that and with my daughter, because my daughter was like, Mama, you're not as available as my grandma was available for babysitting, for example, or spending time with the little ones. I'm like, yes, because my mom was just a mom, and she was just a grandmother. She didn't have to worry about earning a living to pay the bills. I have to do that. That's my responsibility as well. So once you're doing that, then you're venturing out like a warrior into the world, which is made, for working and all of that stuff. Then you have to push back your nurturing at the back. And then you have to utilize that. And you come back, you have to be that. So I told her, yes, you have a grandma, which is amazing, but then your kids have a grandma who's also a working grandma. So I would expect you to also be great, give me grace. So, but this is a journey, right? You don't understand all of this immediately. You keep on trying to satisfy being a grandmother and being overachieving in that field, and then you burnt out. So you just need to take it easy. So that's a mistake, and I would definitely say don't go either way. Don't go like too much into taking time off work and people and just live in isolation and not help anybody at all. No. And I'm also not saying just forget yourself. I'm saying, try to achieve that some point in the middle.
And bring your balance, right?
I don't think it'll be a balance. You'd just probably be at 3 and 4 and then you'll be like 7 and 8 and you try to come back at this and that. It'll be a struggle.
Yeah.
But you're being conscious about it. You're being mindful about it. Intentional about it. It's like, I need to go to the gym. Okay, this is a priority for me too. A healthy grandmother is priority.
Yeah.
Or just a healthy mom. It doesn't have to, I don't even need to have these roles defined, right? I'm a person by myself, first and foremost.
Wow. This is a deep insight that you shared, that it's very difficult to juggle. And I think there was an episode we spoke about it, that having a supportive partner will make the load a bit lighter, because as a woman, you have to work in this present age and you have to be a mom at the same time. So imagine you have a partner who is not supportive. It's going to be so overwhelming for you. But when you are working as a team with your partner, and then the children are also helping when they grow up, it's more like a teamwork to lighten the load of the mother. Because in the past, it was all about the mom holding the house down, doing this, doing that, and all of that. But right now, there's a new dynamic to everything, that a mom has to also work and provide and contribute financially to the home. So definitely the husband has to step in to work together as a team, I would say, to make things easier. So it's all about being intentional, like what you said.
Yeah, I like what you said about that partner and being supportive partner. I wouldn't know that meaning as much, but I would definitely say that it's important to understand and remember, especially with respect to the demographic that I represent, to know your job description, JD. And there's all of that trend going on about trad wife and whatnot, right? Traditional wives staying at home and the man goes out and is the breadwinner, and then the woman is able to be the nurturer and all of that stuff. That's all going back to original cultures that we grew up in, right? And I don't see any issue with that personally, because I think the job descriptions, as they have been laid out, were also meant based on our abilities in terms of, not that women cannot do it, we can for sure. It does take a strain on us for sure. It's a little bit of a pivot. We're pivoting ourselves, not what we are default meant to be. And people can come at me at the comments if they have to. That's okay. That's just the way I look at it. Also, maybe because in my undergrad, I took 4 years of home economics, so I'm a thoroughly, inspired kind of person who loves to sew and loves to cook and all of those things. So having that, and that being my passion also, and then not being able to do as much as I would like to do of all of those things, and just because I have to be the breadwinner, is kind of like the
difficult to navigate.
Exactly. Not only difficult to navigate, it's like I'm not being authentic to myself. Yeah, you also have to be authentic. Who are you? Yeah, I am that person, and I like doing that. So there's no shame in saying that. I can do this too, and I love doing the teaching that I do and being entrepreneurial and all of that. I love my students so much. But at the same time, that's also something I like to do.
Thank you so much. I have learned a lot from how you explained the family dynamics and how we can leverage, just showing up for ourselves and also doing our duties. And it's not more like striking a balance, because there's sometimes that situations could come in and you just have to ensure that it's a win-win for everybody, right?
Yeah.
And you also don't leave yourself out in the win-win situation. So it's not something that I feel anybody would see as something that is negative. It's something that it's a new perspective to what people have been hearing. So it's something that I feel everybody should welcome with an open mind and think about it, because you matter as well as other people do matter. So in your journey on how you navigate all of these situations, also put yourself under consideration.
I definitely think men and women have different roles, and they don't compete, they complete each other.
Exactly.
So definitely they're complementary
Exactly.
in terms of where what you have, I don't have, and I can
And then
make
I
it
come
happen,
in for you.
and then I have those skills that you don't. So it's just a complementary thing that.
Yeah, that makes
That's
it
just how
easier
I-
for everyone. So I would like to ask you, what resources and association do you think are made available to Muslims in Canada that would aid their spiritual connection with Allah and help them to make it easy to practice their religion?
Thank you so much for that question. I would definitely recommend reaching out to the local mosques. Here in Canada, we're very lucky. We have, mosques are also looked after by the government. They're also taken care of, what they speak about, what they say, and all of that stuff. So it's not like they are hubs of any extremism. No, they're not. But they are places of not just worship, but they're also places of being socially active. So connect with the nearest mosque. In Mississauga, we have this huge mosque, which is ISNA. And it's not just a mosque. They have Ramadan festivals, they have Eid festivals, they have speakers coming in, they have young teenagers programs, they have summer camps for kids. It's a fun place, actually. And you find your people there. My son found so many friends there. My daughter went to different camps. So you are able to. I found a lot of my friends through the London Muslim Mosque and through the Southwestern Islamic Center of Southwestern Ontario. That was my first place to look into. And then my kids became friends with the people, their kids, and it's not like being exclusive and not being inclusive of the rest. No, it's a good starting point. You do need people that you can pray with. It's okay. You do need people who can eat the same thing. It's okay. But it's also okay for me to be fully satisfied in my own cultural diversification that I have, and then go out and meet other people too.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm just staying there eating my own little
Yeah.
bread, and no, I wanna experience other cultures. I wanna talk to them and whatnot, but I also need my own fill.
People, yeah.
Yeah, so that would be a great starting base. In different colleges and universities, you have MSAs, which is a Muslim Student Association, and that's a network across the USA, even in the UK. So they can become members of that. Again, I'm saying there's no extremism going on there or
Yeah.
anything like that. They just meet for iftar, Ramadan, all of that stuff, and sometimes discuss chapters in the Quran, talk about it, have a better understanding, and then they meet each other. They become friends, and then they have matches in football and soccer and
Yeah.
normal
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
So that would be a really good place to start if you're feeling lonely, if you're feeling like I don't know where to go, I don't see people like me. It's a valid feeling,
Yeah. It is.
and there's no need to be like, oh, because I've left that part, I don't need to be a part of that. No, you are who you are.
Yeah.
So it's okay to embrace that part. And end of the day, you will be an amalgamation of all of these beautiful places and people and lives that you've encountered.
Yeah,
Yeah.
If you search and look deeper, you see that there are people like you and their associations that are more welcoming. So that will make you feel more at home. So it's just for you to be intentional about looking for, searching, and being open to socializing. And like you said, it's not like you've been enclosed to a particular group and say you don't want to associate with other kind of people. Even if you're an African or you are from Asia, fine, it's good to have your friends from Asia,
Exactly.
network with them and everything, but that doesn't mean you shouldn't be friends with Caucasians or try to explore other cultures and get to know them. I'm a Nigerian and I love my country, I love Africa, but I'm also friends with people from other continents, and I've learned a lot from them as well. So it's more about we coming together as one, and I think that's what makes the world better.
It's also about your identity, right? You still need to know who you are, and you still need to have and hold true to your identity. No matter what I do, I will never be able to be an African. I will not have that lived in experience as you do. And I can also not shy away from who I am as a Muslim South Asian woman who has lived in different parts of the world and now living in Canada, right? So I have lots of parts of me which are now, some parts are Pakistani, some parts are Saudi because I lived there, some parts are, I picked up stuff from while I was studying in the UK, and then I'm in Canada, and then different parts of Canada. So it's just like, it's exciting, but the core of you is who you are. And the moment you find like, oh, people are getting a little bit extremist at any place, you just let up. You just say, okay, fine. You just do your own thing then. But you need to be aware of your culture.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for explaining that in a more understandable term. We are almost done with questions for today. I would just like to know how you manage stress and how you maintain your mental and physical well-being while you juggle all of these roles, how you ensure that you stay healthy physically and mentally.
Thank you for that question. I think there were different phases in my life that I was under a lot of stress, and stress is something which is in everybody's life. So I'm not the only one who has stress or had stress, right? And there are different ways that one can navigate it, right? You can navigate it according to my own understanding. There are different dimensions of a person. There are physical, spiritual, social, intellectual, and different things that we can do. So for me, definitely, throughout my life, one thing that has stayed and maintained my stress levels and kind of given me hope and a place of comfort is faith. It comes from being a person of faith, making sure I pray, which is equivalent to meditating, which everybody talks about right now. So it's kind of like trending because you're meditating. So, 5 times a day I'm meditating, but I'm praying to God. I'm concentrating, I'm trying to stay still, do some moves which are similar. Okay. So for me, faith and knowing that there's a bigger entity, so that's a physical manifestation of faith, is praying for me, right? But knowing for me as a person of faith that there is God and He is all knowing and He will take care of things for me if I do good. So my job description with Him is I need to do good in my relations with others, in my responsibilities, in my ethics, in my principles, and all the tactics that I employ should be such that I'm able to be proud of who I am as a person. So faith has been there for sure through my stressors. But then also sports have been a de-stressor because I like to play and I like to enjoy physical activity. I grew up with 3 brothers. I'm the only sister, so understandably I was playing a lot of sports growing up. And then, there were times that I let go of it and then you come back to it. But since the past 4 years, I've been very regimented in terms of going to the gym, showing up for myself, giving myself grace, understanding that this is important for me. And I make challenges for myself. So I taught myself how to swim recently, a couple of years ago, because I was always afraid of drowning. My best friend passed away in a drowning incident, one of our childhood friends actually. So that kind of made me afraid. I also drowned in a swimming pool myself one time when I was in grade 7, so that scared me. And I was like, I need to. So I was very stressed in my life. I was going through divorce in 2021, and I was like, how do I take care of this stress? It's just overwhelming me. It's taking over me. What do? I was walking from before. Every day I was walking for 50 minutes, but that was not enough. So I said, I'm going to mentally challenge myself. What is something that I'm afraid of? Swimming. I was afraid of swimming. I was afraid of being in the water. So I said, okay, I'm just going to learn how to swim. So I can put all of that stressful active energy into an act that I can consciously work at and challenge myself to do that. So I went, signed up for a gym. They had a good deal going on. I joined the gym. And then they said they're going to have the swim instructor. That never showed up. That never happened. And we were still in between COVID in 2021. So that didn't happen. So then I was just like, what do I do? So then I started watching YouTube videos about how to swim. And then people at the pool, the women in the pool, they started helping me. You should get goggles. You know how to breathe inside. Okay, let me show you this. And here's the paddle. And here's this and this and this. I was like, okay, sure. So I would practice something every day till the time I learned how to swim.
Wow.
And I was happy with that. And recently, I started doing strength training, lifting weights, because I was afraid of that. I was like, I don't think I can do that. I don't think I can do that. And I had a friend who really loved to lift weights and stuff. So I was inspired, but I was like, look at that person in admiration. I'm like, how do they do that? I bet I can never do that. And I was like, you know what? I'll do that. I'll try that. I don't want to buff up like a guy, for sure. But at the same time, I want to lift weight. I want to be strong enough. So that's the new thing. And then also keeping yourself happy in terms of, meeting people, socializing. And for me, my fill is, I really love going into my classroom. I love meeting my students. That's like a social thing for me. It is a social thing. And I think teaching is it has one of the most wonderful de-stressors for me in my life. People think of it as a job, I think of it as a de-stressor. Being in the company of my students is a reward from God for me. And I think it has kept me going for the past number of years. So if I were to go back and change anything, this is one thing I will never change.
Wow.
Being an instructor and a professor.
Thank you so much for sharing your experience on today's episode. I've sat down here and I cannot say the number of things I've learned that I would have probably paid for or even subscribed to a newsletter to learn, or even have to buy a ticket to go for a particular session to learn. But thank you so much for being here and sharing this experience, not just to me but to the viewers out there that will be watching today's episode. And I'm sure that it's going to inspire and help people to navigate life more effortlessly and make the right decisions. So we have come to the end of today's episode, but on a lighter note, like you said, I also like to make myself happy because it's not all about the serious atmosphere.
Exactly.
I like to lighten the atmosphere and make things a bit more fun. So we have a game part. I will start with a game called Never Have I Ever. So I'm going to be asking you 10 questions, and if you've done more than 3, I will just tell you to participate in at least one game. I don't want to stress you so much, so you participate in just at least one game. So you put your 10 fingers up, and if you've done any one, you just close it down, put it down. If you've done any of it.
If I've done any of these.
Yeah, but if you haven't, you can still leave your fingers.
Alright, go
yeah.
for it.
Okay, so the first question is, never have I ever thought I was for sure the coolest professor on the planet.
I have thought about it.
Nice, so you can just put a finger.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So never have I talked to an animal.
I have talked to them. Okay.
Never have I ever dreamed about work.
But I have dreamt about it. Yes.
Nice.
Okay.
Never have I ever sent an email to the wrong person.
Yes.
We've all done that. Never have I ever had to fire someone.
Actually, I'm not fired. Someone.
Okay. Never have I ever given a presentation or a lecture to more than 500 people.
I have.
Nice. Never have I ever said something to my children that my mom used to say to me.
Guilty.
Never have I ever called my grandchildren by the wrong name.
Oh yeah. My granddaughter was just telling me the other day, she's like, why do you call me by my mama's name? Because I do call her, because she looks like her mom. And then I go back in time and I call her by my daughter's name.
Wow. Never have I ever made my own jewelry.
Jewelry?
Yeah.
I have made.
You, okay? And the last one is, never have I ever upcycled something old into something new.
Oh,
Nice.
So just I haven't fired so
Wow,
many.
you've done almost everything except one. Okay, so the game you'll be playing, which is quite simple, you're just going to make a sentence starting with the initial of your first name. N. So you make a sentence with N. First sentence, second sentence, third sentence. Let's make it 3 sentences.
Okay. Never give up.
Okay, that's one.
Yeah. And not happening if it's not in my mind.
That's good.
And not the end right now.
Wow, that's so brilliant. Thank you so much. Wow, I never saw that coming, but you did it perfectly. Thank you
so much. Thank
you so much. We have a brand that sponsored today's episode, so I would use this opportunity to say thank you to Simi Defined for being a sponsor of this episode and for gifting our guest, and I will be giving you the gift after the session. So thank you so much for coming. Kindly patronize Simi Defined if you live in Nigeria. They make a traditional attire called bubu, so you can patronize them. And if you are in Canada, you can also order for their outfit from Nigeria and they will ship it directly to you in Canada. Please do it to patronize them. Check them out on Instagram and they will respond to you immediately. Thank you so much, viewers, for watching today's episode. Please follow us on all social media handles. Subscribe to our YouTube channel. I know most of you do not like that subscribe button, but go right there and click the subscribe button so that when we have new episode, you'll be the first to see it and watch it.
Thank you also to your sponsor.
Yeah.
And please go and check them out.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, so viewers, bye for now. See you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye.